Hello again, I'm Stanislav Chernonog. I'm the author and creator of the School of Vector Massage and Somatics, and in this video I will tell you about 7 basic massage movements. Of course, this video will primarily be useful and meaningful for people who are just starting to work. We will look at how the basic massage movements are given in classical massage. After that, I will tell you what is really important to concentrate on and what basic mistakes are made in the performance of these movements. And in the end, I will reveal a few secrets of how you can make ordinary banal massage movements so that your patients like them. And as I said, there are 7 of them, and the simplest it would seem with which it is recommended to start each massage procedure is stroking. Very often people think that stroking is a procedure that can be avoided, or people treat it as insignificant and make it very formal. Very often it looks like this: people think about their own and are not present in how they touch the person. The main story in stroking is that you have to do it very slowly and very smoothly. The most important story is that the skin of your hands does not come off the skin of the patient's body. The movement should be very slow and very smooth. The specificity of stroking is that in the process of stroking, the patient's skin does not move relative to the deeper tissues of the human body. You make the movement very slowly and smoothly. Its main function is to warm up the patient's skin and to diagnose, because at the moment when you carefully feel your patient smoothen the one's surfaces, if you have a good feeling, then you are able to figure out where you need to work more deeply and attentively. In stroking, it is extremely important to have a grounded body. The main mistake in the stroking movement is to treat this movement as something formal. That is, at the beginning, when you were taught massage, you were told that you definitely need to stroke, and so you begin to formally stroke your patient randomly in different directions, and this is usually perceived as a waste of time. It is very important that you are present in every moment of touch. This is very important because it allows you to connect really well with the patient and get a feel for what you need to work with. On the duration of each movement, I will specifically stop at the end of this video. Don't switch. Explore your feelings at the moment when I do this formally. Concentrate on what I'm saying. Or at the moment when I perform a movement, fully concentrating on every moment of this movement. At what moment it is more interesting for you to be and observe what is happening with patients. The next move is a shift. It is actually very similar to stroking, only that the difference about shifting is that we are moving the skin or muscles relative to the deeper tissues. One of the common mistakes here is that you overdo it with oil and your skin glides too easily over the patient's skin, and thus the shift does not happen. If you have overdone it with oil, then you can take a towel or the edge of the sheet and remove the excess oil from the patient's body. Shifting is a wonderful movement, and unlike stroking, it is easier because you can land properly with your hands into the patient's body. And in this way you can move the skin, or you can move deeper tissues such as muscles or fascia. You can move different layers of muscles relative to each other. And as always, a little life hack on how to do multi-level shift to different depths will be at the end of this video. The next movement we will have is the kneading movement. When we find some tightness in the body of a muscle, or we want to massage some specific area, we work with pulsating pressure, circular rotation around the selected local area. If the previous movements, such as stroking or shifting, referred to large regions of the body, then kneading will refer to a small region, and this movement is directed not at the surface of the structure, but into its depth. You find a muscle, and it's like you have gum under your hand that you want to spread over the largest possible surface area. As always, there are great details related to what to press with, which parts of your body to press with, in which directions to press, in terms of dynamics, how you do press. In classical massage techniques, the kneading movement is the main one. Thus, if you are just starting out, it makes sense to do the kneading movement about 60% of the time of the entire session, using this movement in different regions. It may be in the pelvis, it may be in the lower back, it may be in the thoracic region, it may be performed with large surfaces such as the base of the palm, it can be performed with lateral surface of the forearm, or can be performed separately with a separate finger. All this is essentially one movement. A good specialist, of course, flows organically from one work surface to another surface, and special attention should be paid to these so that it turns out beautifully and harmoniously, so that one movement flows into another. One of the main problems of a massage therapist, of course, will be occupational diseases. You stand a lot, you work a lot with your hands, and if you work monotonously, then this is not so interesting for the patient. In addition, you earn yourself occupational diseases. So a very important emphasis is that you can organically change work surfaces to relax when you are working. The next movement is the stretch movement. It is very important because if there is a long-term tension somewhere in your body, it becomes so constant that the tissues shorten. And one relaxation will not be enough for the tissues to come in order. Shortened, compressed tissues form difficult blood circulation, and as a result, decay products accumulate in them. Therefore, in order to allow a person to feel normal, we must stretch the compressed and constricted tissues. The stretching motion is very similar to the shifting or stroking motion. It differs from the shifting or stroking movement in that it is unidirectional and repeats many times. I fixed the patient's lower back in one place, and with the other hand, I pull on the thoracolumbar fascia. It does not matter what it is, but I pull it. To stretch a person's lower back, we can pull on any contracted or shortened muscle in order to improve blood circulation in it and allow a person to really relax the structures in a quality way. It would be useful to add that we find the muscles that are tense or shortened in the stroking phase. And this is one of the most important functions of stroking, which novice massage therapists very often miss. An important function of stretching is to separate structures that have stuck together inside our patient's body. Very often the structures inside our body grow together. For example, one muscle grows into another one, the skin grows into the muscles, and so in many different variations. It is very important for a person to feel good to separate these structures, so that what moves relative to each other. The ideal way to do this would be a stretching movement, when we slowly and systematically shift the structure in one of the chosen directions. An important detail of stretching is the amount of force you apply at the moment of stretching. I want to tell you that the main aspect will be the smoothness of the movement, not the strength. If you can perform the movement smoothly enough with a heavy load and it does not hurt the patient, do it with a heavy load. If you are able to make a pulling, viscous movement through the patient's body with a small load, do it with a small load. The next movement will be vibration. Here we perform uniform, unidirectional movements in the patient's body. Vibration can be done in a variety of directions. Its main purpose is to separate deep structures that we cannot directly reach with our hands. Relatively speaking, we shift some structures inside the human body due to the echo. We apply load in one place, and that load extends deeper and further. As you can see from the body of our patient, I press and perform a rhythmic swaying movement in the thoracic region, and the entire body of the patient is included in the movement. This is a very powerful movement. Through it you can carry out diagnostics and treatment and relaxation and retraining of a person. And there are many options and details. As with any technique, there are ways to do it right and wrong. The way to understand whether you are doing the vibration movement correctly or not is a change in the patient's body. If a person, after you start to vibrate the one, tenses up and becomes cold, then this is a bad sign. If the patient becomes warmer and relaxes, then this is a sure sign that you are doing everything right. A good way to understand if you are moving in the right direction or not is to ask the patient. It is very normal to ask the patient whether the one likes what you are doing or not. There is nothing terrible in the fact that the patient can tell you that some specific movements do not suit very much. You can have 6 more basic movements in stock. A very important and significant movement is the embracing kneading. Its essence is capturing a muscle or some other structure. You can capture the skin, for example, or some subcutaneous fat tissue and start kneading it sequentially in different directions, as if you have something dense and inhomogeneous that you want to make soft and uniform, as if you are kneading the dough. Very often when I'm doing the embracing kneading, patients tell me that I could be a great baker. When you make this move, you should be imagining that you are a great baker, and it will help you to perform the embracing kneading. It is super effective in cases where blood circulation is disturbed in the muscles and when the muscle is tense. As always, the right is ails. And if you do an excessive load and it becomes painful and unpleasant for a person, then this leads to the fact that the muscle tenses instead of relaxing. But if you don't go deep enough into the muscle, then you won't be able to knead it properly. Here the main secret will be this sense of proportion that you develop and cherish in yourself. A good move would be a rubbing movement. Patients love it. It is quite simple to perform. You take a person and start rubbing in different directions. This movement is especially beautiful in those cases when the person got frozen. For many patients, this is the only and surest way to feel alive, to feel that their blood is moving, that they are not zombies or vampires, that they have a living heart and live warm blood. It is usually quite pleasant. It is done somewhere in the final phase of your work. Again, if you look, it's a very fast stroking or shifting movement, only that we're doing it slowly. The shifting or stroking movement is slow, while the rubbing movement is fast. Again, on the rubbing motion, you are able to understand where the person has spasmodic areas and where to pay special attention. A good quality kneading work is immersion in those areas where there is stagnation and violations of the correct functioning of the body. The body should be elastic and soft in all directions. When your hand gets stuck in some place, this is a sure sign that you need to work more attentively in this place. And now to the promised life hacks. Firstly, I must say the stroking goes differently depending on how you stand. If you stand unsteadily, for example on one leg, then your body will be involuntarily busy in order not to lose balance. The moment you clearly and distinctly find your sense of balance, stroking process becomes totally different. An important part of stroking is immersion in a kind of meditative state that you can put on yourself and which is transmitted to your patient. If you find support and grounding, then you can even work throughout this session exclusively with this stroke technique. And this is the basis of a whole direction in massage, which is called Swedish massage. Another little secret about shifting is that you can easily determine the depth at which you are shifting tissue by changing the angle at which your arms enter the patient. If you are positioned as coaxial as possible with the patient's line, almost leaning on the patient but not leaning, then the shifting effect will be as superficial as possible. The more steadily you hover over the patient, the deeper the depth of the shift will be. If I want to move very deep tissues, then I'm vertically above the patient and work with the bases of my palms. This is necessary in order to work on deep tissues where basically the main tension accumulates. It is very bad when the massage therapist's fingers do not touch the patient's body. You can check yourself clearly on this. Your hands should stick into the patient and slide over. This is not very noticeable in the video, but nevertheless the main load is at the base of my palm and nevertheless my fingers are on the patient's body. The contact area is maximum. This applies to almost all movements. When you have the stroking, the contact area is maximum. When you have stretching, the contact area is maximum, including vibration and shaking. At the beginning of this video, I promised you that I would tell you how to distribute the duration of certain movements during a massage. The main thing you need to know is that if you like doing some kind of movement and it gives pleasure not only to you but also to your patient, do it even for the entire session. There are formal divisions that you should spend about 10% of the time stroking, then 10% rubbing, then about 60% kneading and embracing kneading, and then 10% stroking at the end. But if it happens to you that you're working with a person and some of the movements give you great pleasure, if your hands go to some place, then you should neglect the formal rules because you are not working with a person from a massage textbook. You are working with a real person whose needs and desires can be radically different from what's been written there in the textbook. So, if you feel that you want to work in some direction, if you feel that this particular person has a need for this kind of touch, honestly trust yourself and work in the direction you want. I told you about the 7 main massage movements, and now you have the understanding that massage is not only slowly creeps the garden snail, but also something else. If you liked this video, please press the like button and subscribe to our channel, the channel where we teach you how to do massage right and how to make money on it. Stanislav Chernonog, the founder of the School of Vector Massage and Somatics, was with you. Thank you for being with us. See you again. Goodbye.